Welcome to What's Cooking. I'm Rebecca Fliszar. I'm a dietitian with the Hearts Beat Back Heart of New Ulm project. Tonight on What's Cooking, we're going to go over some great recipes that'll add a lot of flavor to your dish. You'll be able to enjoy your meal, and your family will find that chicken really is what's for dinner. So what we want to do is take a look at our list of ingredients. You know, chicken is a high source of protein and is lower in cholesterol than many of our beef and pork cuts. So we try to incorporate our chicken in a little more often than maybe you have in the past. What we're looking for is a lot of our mono and polyunsaturated fats and a reduction in our overall saturated fats. These are the saturated fats are the fats that are going to give us a little trouble when we talk about our overall heart health. This recipe is going to use our chicken breast. We're going to trim even the small amount of fat off of our chicken breast to make sure we're using the leanest dish possible. I have also some minced garlic, which is called for in this recipe. It's just as easy to press a piece of garlic, but if you don't have the time, you're going to get the same nutritional value out of your minced garlic out of a jar. These are packed in water. It doesn't add any kind of calories or fat, and it's just a little bit easier to use. 1 teaspoon of minced garlic is the equivalent of 1 small clove of garlic. So it's an easy conversion. You can put it in there, and remember, garlic is good for heart health. If you can add a little more, throw it on your dish. We're going to have 1 small onion, a little bit of extra light virgin olive oil, and we're going to use a balsamic vinegar. The vinegar is what's going to help add the pungency to it. It's going to have a very distinctive flavor, and it's going to help keep your meat tender while it's baking. All right? And then for a little bit of additional flavor and for some color, we're going to throw on some parsley. I just want to mention that with this dish, if you'd like to add extra vegetables into your pan, into your foil when you wrap this up, go for it. That's a great opportunity for you to add in some vegetables because we're looking for 7 to 9 fruits and vegetables for our Mediterranean diet, which is recommended by the Heart of New Ulm. So when we're working for that, remember, if you are able to reduce your incidence of heart disease by almost 20% just by what we eat, it's a great idea and a better way to improve your overall heart health. All right, so let's go ahead and start preparing. I just want to cut up our parsley here first a little bit. The nice thing about parsley is it does contain some amounts of calcium. So if you don't drink milk and you don't enjoy yogurt, or if you're having trouble with your overall bone health and calcium level, we can get some of that from our green leafies. So parsley really isn't just a plate decoration. It's something that you should be consuming on a regular basis. It does have a very distinct flavor, so make sure you're comfortable with that flavor before adding it into your dish. Okay? Now the next thing we want to do is just dice up our onion. Now normally I like to use red onions. I like their flavor a little bit, but today I chose a Vidalia sweet onion. This is a great time of the year for these Vidalias. They come out of Vidalia, Georgia, and they're not quite so pungent, and you're going to notice a little bit of a sweetness to them. It's a nice addition to any dish. With these, I'm just going to dice these up just a little bit. The best tool you can have in the kitchen is a very sharp knife. When we have a dull knife, we tend to have to push very hard or saw through. That's when we tend to see the most accidents and problems in the kitchen. So always keep your knife nice and sharp. Use the proper knife for each cutting need, and you're going to find out that you're going to have a much safer cooking experience. All right, those are pretty well diced. Now with this, I made my own addition. One of my favorite foods is mushrooms. You know, these are high in nutrients and they're a great addition to anything we're having. So I'm going to add a can of sliced mushrooms into my dish as well. So the next thing we want to do is we're just going to grab a piece of tin foil. We're going to lay out our chicken breasts. Like I said, I want to just trim off just a little bit of this extra fat here, just to make sure it's as lean as it can possibly be. Trim that piece off as well. We really don't want any of this excess fat. Okay, and our third piece as well. And we're basically just going to take our ingredients and put them right over the top. This dish can also be made on the stovetop if you wanted to saute all of these together. If you chose to use fresh mushrooms, it'd be easy enough conversion to make. Add our onions in here. Again, I am an onion fan, so I'm adding quite a few of those in there. I'm going to add the parsley. A lot of great color. With that, then, we're going to go ahead and add in our garlic. Garlic is excellent for heart health. I'm going to add a little bit extra. Now, we're going to add just a little bit of our olive oil. Olive oil is high in mono and polyunsaturated fats. That's going to help bring up our good cholesterol and down our bad. Now, I don't ask that you add additional olive oil into your diet, but if any dish you're using butter, do make that replacement and use the olive oil instead. They do have a fair amount of calories, so we still want to be careful with it. We just don't want to use butter and things instead of the olive oil. And then our last ingredient is going to be our balsamic vinegar. You know, this looks like a fancy dish. It's going to come out tasting great, and yet this was easy for us to put together. Not being afraid of getting in the kitchen and trying new recipes is really the first step to good heart health. Giving different ingredients a try, knowing which foods your family likes and is willing to include in your dish is going to be essential to making our heart healthy dishes as well. We're just going to take our little package and put it in the oven. And guess what? We've got a great dinner ready to go. I'll be back with our next recipe. Welcome back to What's Cooking. While our chicken is baking off, we're going to put together a heart-healthy salad. This is going to have a lot of different textures, going to be nutrient-dense, and is going to complement the meal that we have already put together. By choosing these foods, we're going to find that we're going to have foods that are rich in antioxidants, great fillers, and a definitely great flavor without the calories that we find in many of our sides. You know, the potatoes aren't our enemy. It's what we put with them. Oftentimes we use potatoes with sour cream or butter, other high-fat foods. Today we're just going to use a slight oil with some great herbs, and this is going to complement the flavor of the chicken without adding the calories. So what I've done so far is I've boiled the potatoes. I had 4 medium potatoes, just diced them up and boiled them up. Drained them out, and this is where we're at. I did the same thing for the beans. I used about a pound of these string beans, got them right out of the farmer's market. We can cut off the tips, and those are going to be ready to use. I boiled those for about 8 minutes just to soften them up, and you can see how green they've become. The next ingredient is going to be another onion. I'm going to add that in as well. The real ingredient in this recipe is our fresh basil. This has delicious flavor, it smells great, and is really going to change the flavor of this meal. Our dressing then will be a small amount of extra virgin olive oil and a red cooking wine. Put them all together and you'll be amazed at the flavor we're going to get. All right, so what we want to do first is we're going to create our dressing. And in that, we're going to use about 1/3 cup of our olive oil. We're going to complement that with a little bit of our red cooking wine. All right, this is basically how you make a red wine vinaigrette. This is a vinaigrette in its easiest basic form. It's usually a 3-to-1 ratio. 3 parts olive oil, 1 part red wine vinegar. So basic, you can do that with balsamic vinegar, you can use it with a white wine vinegar, but this is it, your basic recipe right there. I'm going to mix that together. Now we're going to cut these fresh herbs. Basil grows easily and is found in most gardens throughout your community. Easily found at farmers markets and actually can be dried and kept for quite some time. So I'm going to dice up a fair bit of this because it really is what's going to make the difference in this recipe. I'm going to add that in there and let that soak just for a few minutes while I put our other ingredients together. Boy, I can just tell you how strong that smell is and how good this recipe is going to turn out to be. Mix those in there a bit. All right, then I want to go ahead and dice up the onion. Again, this is a Vidalia sweet onion. Best time of the year for those are right now. Came out of Georgia. And just like their name, they are a little bit of a sweet onion. They're not quite as poignant as some of our others. So if you're questionable about onion in your dishes, this might be an onion you'd like to try. Has a little bit of a different flavor, not so overpowering, and yet has a good texture and flavor. All right. I'm not going to dice these. I'm basically ringing these onions. We'll break those up when we put them in the bowl. Onions are great for heart health as well. We like to incorporate those in as many dishes as possible. We'll add those in. Again, a very, very simple recipe. That's really one of the keys with the Heart of New Ulm, is making heart-healthy cooking easy. These aren't complicated or too many ingredients that they become unaffordable, and yet they have all those things that we're looking for to create a good, heart-healthy, well-balanced meal. All right? I'm an onion fan, so I like to add in a few extras. Okay, then we're going to go ahead. We can cut these tips off of our green beans. Really not too difficult. I like to use about a pound, but if you're making a larger quantity, this is an easy recipe to convert. You know, it's really based on what you like in there, based on eyesight. As I always mention, we don't limit the amount of vegetables you can have. So if you add in a few extra vegetables, nobody's going to give you a hard time. With the Mediterranean diet, you're looking for 7 to 9 fruits and vegetable servings in a day, which is pretty difficult for some of us if we're not aware of what it is that we're eating. If you haven't had any fruits and vegetables today, start with just getting one. All right. Now, we do prefer that more of your servings come from vegetables than fruits. We look for about 3 fruit servings per day. Beyond that, we tend to see a higher calorie intake. Vegetables are high in fiber, and so they're very low in calories and very, very nutritionally dense. We'll cut up a few more of those. You know, this is the time of the year, too, that farmers markets are springing up all over. If you can stop at your local market, you're going to get a more nutritionally dense food, going to have great flavor, and you're supporting your local economy. Green beans, radishes, lettuce, they're all available right now. So make sure you're getting out to your market and say hello to your neighborhood farmer. Okay, then I want to add in our potatoes and simply add in our dressing. Okay, take our spoon and mix this up. Now it seems pretty basic, but with the basil and the balsamic vinegar, you're going to see that the flavor is really great, really muted out of the onions. It's not going to be, none of these flavors are going to be overpowering. With this, if there's other vegetables you'd like to add, if you wanted to throw in some mushrooms, this would be great. Maybe some summer squash would go in here well to complement that as well. But that's it. Easy enough, and this is really a delicious salad. This is an easy recipe for you to make, and give it a try. Remember, our family needs to see our fruits and vegetables as often as possible. The more you're putting them on the table, the more we're offering them, the more likely we're going to eat them. 7 to 9 fruits and vegetables. And that's it. That's this week's episode of What's Cooking. I'll see you next week.